With all these videos I've made, I've gotten tired of being awake, so today I decided to go to a dreamland. I survived 100 days in a dream where the lands are made of candy and creepers are friendly. That doesn't sound much like a challenge, to be honest. So I put it in hardcore. Well, okay, if they can't hurt me, that's still not too difficult. Good thing that there's a chance that I will be sent to a nightmare realm too. Now that that's a real challenge, I could either go to a land where unicorns greet me, or to a land where literal Herobrine can find me and kill me. If this isn't going to be an interesting challenge, I don't know what is. Before we start though, you know that I have to ask you guys to subscribe if you haven't. These videos take a ton of time to make, and it helps the channel so much. Also, make sure to leave a like, and if we hit 1,000 likes, I will release 200 days of this. Finally, let's get into the game. On day 1, I start off by punching down a spruce tree, the most basic form of Minecraft, the punch. After getting some wood, I dug down, grabbed some stone, and made some stone tools. I ran around looking for something interesting to start off with. I found some sweet berries for an easy starting food that I promptly grabbed. There was a decent cave nearby that I hopped into where I could fight some monsters and get some iron. I should probably explain what this mod is a little bit before we go further. There are mushrooms that you can collect when combined with a bed make a strange bed. You can either find them underground or in the nether. Firstly, we're going to be going to the nether unless we get lucky. Now, by sleeping in this strange bed, it has a 50-50 shot to send you either to the dreamland or to a nightmare. After 20 minutes, you'll be sent back to the overworld, or if you sleep in that dimension. Now, technically, I could just sleep to get out of the nightmare realm if I wanted to. That doesn't sound like too much of a challenge. So, I've set a minimum of surviving in the nightmare or dream for at least 10 minutes to ensure that this challenge stays interesting. Now, after mining for a little while, I went back to the surface, crafted a boat, and sailed off looking for an interesting place to set my stuff down. Found a shipwreck on the way, which provided some carrots, wheat, and iron too. Next, I continued sailing, only to find a swamp. I wasn't too thrilled in settling in a swamp, but it had some sheep, so I made a shears and then a bed. I also started smelting my iron before falling asleep. After waking up, I made some tools and a shield with the smelted iron before continuing to run around looking for a place to set up my base. I'm not too worried about where I settle, as I wanted my actual builds to exist in the dreamland, but I needed a starter house until I got there. On day 3, I found a forest biome with a nice hill to settle on top of. I set down my chests and furnaces before clearing out a small area of trees and making a super simple house. I don't really care too much about how it looks because I just needed something to set up in. After finishing up the house and putting my stuff inside, it was time to go into the caves. I needed to rush the nether to get the mushroom. Between days 4 and 6, I went down into the caves to find diamonds. This time, I found 11 diamonds and tons of iron. I also found a dungeon, but it didn't have anything super interesting. I head back up to the base where I craft diamond boots, a sword, and a pickaxe. And then I go to make the enchantment table, but realize I've forgotten obsidian. So I need to go back down into the mines briefly just to get some. I get 14 obsidian, enough to create an enchantment table and another portal, before heading back to the base. I craft the enchant table before enchanting all of my gear up with just level 1 enchants. On day 8, it's time to finally make the nether portal to go look for the mushrooms. I enter the nether and start running, marking the coordinates of where my portal is at first. It's not until the next day that I actually find the Mushrooms of Despair. I watched a mod showcase of this mod just to get a basic idea, and they made it seem like these mushrooms were very common, and they definitely aren't. Either that, or I'm just very unlucky. Anyways, now I need to find the Hope Mushrooms. Hopefully, I'll be a little bit more lucky on getting them. Only a day later, I found the Hope Mushrooms, and I actually found them in another fortress. This is gonna come in handy knowing where it is, so I mark the cords down, grab the mushrooms, and run back to my portal. On day 11, I find myself back at the portal. I craft up the strange bed and place it down in my house. I harvest up some crops before I head to sleep, and this time, going to sleep means a lot more than just sleeping away the night. Tonight, I found myself entering the dreamland with plenty of bright candy trees surrounding. I decided that I'd explore the area, collect some of the cool new blocks, and I mine a lot. So for the next 6 days or so, I collect plenty of dreamwood and the whitewood. I mined plenty of candy and rainbow ore, and I made sure to get enough rainbow ore so that I could get a full set of rainbow armor. On day 19, I returned home so I could smelt the rainbow ore. I made armor and tools out of it. It seems the armor was comparable to iron armor, and the tools were about the same as well. I'm glad they didn't make it overpowered, but I felt that it wasn't good enough considering the amount of work I took to get it. Anyways, I enchanted the newly made rainbow gear with basic level 1 enchantments before going back to sleep, hoping this time I would get sent to the nightmare realm. And here we are, in a nightmare. This place looks pretty barren, but I desperately wanted to find some of the new mobs. There was a changed zombie added in, and really annoying flowers that would prick you every time you stepped on them. I was mainly looking for Herobrine though. On day 27, I found Herobrine and killed him. He was surprisingly easy to kill and also seemed to be neutral to me until I hit him, like an Enderman. Either way, once I killed him, he dropped 2 negatite gems, which seemed to be the best ore out of the Nightmare Realm. After collecting the 2 negatite gems and gathering plenty of burnt wood and bloodwood, I woke up on day 28. I made a negatite sword which is comparable to netherite actually. I decided I really wanted to make a base in the Dreamland and make it more of a fairy style. I've never really stepped too far out of my normal building style, so I figured this would be a great opportunity to do so. I bring all of my building blocks that I had collected and take a chance on the strange bed, hoping it takes me to a dream. And I get lucky enough to go to the dream world. So I start running towards where I want to build. I didn't realize that when I left the dimension, the next time I came there, it wouldn't spawn me where I left off. Instead, it always spawns you at the same spot. Which makes sense, but that would mean I would need to make a pathway to my base. That would be a project down the line. For now, I focused on getting a place to settle down, which fortunately isn't too far away. It's a small beach next to a river where I can set up a small farm next to the lake. This is the point where I tried to get Replay Mod to work with this mod, but I couldn't get them to work together. I'm sure someone much smarter than me could figure it out, but I really couldn't get them to work. Anyway, here's me building my fairies medieval style base out of dreamwood planks and white oak logs. I think the style turned out looking really cool, and these 2 blocks go together very well. It would be really interesting to build something similar in the Nightmare Realm out of the Nightmare blocks, but I just don't have time to do it and it's way too dangerous. Anyways, I finished the base on day 36, and on day 37, it was time to begin construction of the pathway to spawn. I can't pave dream grass like you can with regular grass, so I decided to construct a pathway out of dream fences along the side with candy leaves acting as bushes. This should guide you to the house. I made a bridge over the lake out of dream planks, which took quite a while to make as I needed to collect more resources, especially because part of it used illusion cobblestone, which I then turned into stone brick. I finished up the pathway on day 45, and it was time to head back to the overworld to focus on endgame stuff. I still needed to beat the Ender Dragon and the Wither, but I also still had really low quality gear. So while I killed Enderman at night, I started constructing farms for leather during the day. I constructed a wheat farm and led 2 cows onto the back side of my base and bred them. Then I fought the Enderman, and then I bred cows, and then I fought more Endermen. Then I bred cows. Finally, on day 53, I had enough Ender Pearls and enough cows to get the leather for a full level 30 enchant table. I construct the enchant table and make the bookshelves, but I still don't have enough levels to actually start enchanting at level 30, so I decided to mine plenty of quartz as I went to the nether to hunt blazes. On day 54, I entered the nether and went back to the fortress I marked coordinates of earlier on, found a blaze spawner after a little exploration, and began farming them. After collecting 12 blaze rods, I began on my way back with mining plenty of quartz for levels. Once I returned with the levels, I enchanted my negatite sword and bow with some pretty good enchantments before crafting up my eyes and heading to the end. I could make really good gear once I get all the levels from the Ender Dragon fight, but for now I just need to worry about the sword and the bow, as I wasn't too worried about the fight itself. On day 60, I threw the Eye of Ender and began the run to the stronghold. After not long, I throw the Eye of Ender again and it goes behind me, meaning I'd passed it. I begin digging down and realize my pickaxe is about to break. Hopefully it doesn't break before I get there. I find my way down into the stronghold, explore a little before finding the portal pretty close to where I dug down. I throw the Eyes of Ender into the portal frame blocks and jump through. My obsidian platform spawns inside of the ground, which means I have to dig out, and my pickaxe breaks as I'm mining through the endstone. I craft a stone pickaxe. Fortunately, it's not that big of a deal, and as soon as I get out, I start taking pot shots at the end crystals. After bringing them down, I start shooting the dragon. A power 4 bow makes pretty quick work of it. I end up killing it as it tries to center, so all of the levels are left around the portal pretty easily. I forget to get the dragon egg, but it's not too big of a deal as it's cosmetic only. I jump through the portal and I am back at home, and now it's time to start getting ready for the wither fight, and plunge back into the nether to kill wither skeletons. After the trek back to the forest, I begin slaying the skeleton. It doesn't take too long, surprisingly, as I don't have looting. And on day 75, I finally have enough. There were a ton of wither skeletons killed though. I run back to my portal, and now it's time to fight the wither in the Nightmare Realm. I bring the soul sand I need and some golden apples for the fight before jumping in and getting into the Nightmare Realm. Once in the Nightmare Realm, I find a flat area and spawn the wither. This is a very difficult fight, as my armor is only the level of iron and my sword and bow are decent. Without potions, I drop health extremely quickly. Thank the Lord I decided to bring some golden apples. But I can't commit to sword mode quite as easily as I did because I can't take many hits. I wish I had thought about this a little bit more before jumping in. I'm so used to wither fights being insanely easy. Anyways, after a long and arduous fight, I barely scrape by and kill the wither as zombies and necrom try to overtake me. I pick up the nether star and hop back in the bed to go to the overworld. I place stuff in the chest before going back in the bed. I'm hoping to go to the dream world to look for positite ore, as that will be better armor-wise. But instead I get sent back to the nightmare realm for a second time in a row, so I decide to start hunting a ton of herobrines as they drop negatite, which is the nightmare version of positite, which is also going to be a very strong armor choice. Only problem is, it takes forever to find herobrine as they're very rare. Fortunately, after fighting herobrine for about 12 days, I finally have grinded enough negatite gems to craft full armor and a brand new pickaxe. Again, I hop back in bed and go home to craft my gear. After crafting up the armor and pickaxe on day 90, I go to enchant them. I enchant the pickaxe and get efficiency 4 and unbreaking 3, but when I go to enchant the armor, it doesn't let me. I don't know if this is a glitch or a balancing measure to make sure the armor isn't too strong, but either way, it's definitely better than the armor I was already wearing. I put it on unenchanted anyways. Plus, I'm not taking on any more bosses, so it's not that big of a deal. I decide to hop into bed one more time with a beacon made and some iron blocks so I can make it in the dreamland next to my base. I place it in the lake and spend the remaining few days building an interior of the base and mining for positite this time. I ended up collecting enough positite by day 99. Call that good timing. I return to the cottage, craft up some positite armor, so now I have both sets of armor, just, for bragging rights, and that's 100 days. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry this video is a little bit shorter than the others, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Be sure to subscribe for new videos, and I will see you guys later.